All right, guys, welcome back. Question came up. I took some time off of training. I'm coming back from training. Am I still the belt that I was before? My name is Bill Jones. I'm the head instructor of top-level martial arts in beautiful downtown Cuyahoga Falls. I'm a black belt under Master Pedro Sauer and Tony Rinaldi, and you're watching Professor's Corner. So, bear with me here. I'm trying a new method of, I have like a phone holder, so hopefully it's not too shaky or anything. We'll see as I look back at it later. If it is, just let me know. Definitely in the comments, guys, I'm trying to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark. So if you like what we're doing here, do me a favor, subscribe and yourself, and then maybe even consider sharing it. So Mike asked the question, or I think it's Kempire on the comments, about like how do you judge where you are, or how do you consider your rank after you take amount of time off? Now I think he was specifically relating to himself with COVID, but the fact is many people earn a rank and then in Jiu Jitsu and then take some time off, and for whatever reason, whether it's life, whether it's whatever the reason is. And then you come back. And because Jiu Jitsu is a unique martial art, let's start by talking about that. For those who don't know, I have 4 black belts and multiple instructor certifications in various martial arts. And Jiu Jitsu is like the only one where your ability to win matches and to beat other resisting opponents is as highly important as it is. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's what sets Jiu Jitsu apart. I think that's what makes it so effective. But my point in bringing this up is that if I was to say go into a karate school, despite the fact that, we'll say a Shotokan karate school, because that's the style I have a black belt in, despite the fact that I haven't trained much Shotokan in a while, and I'm certainly not up to par, up to the 3rd degree level where I should be on my forms or kata. If I walked into a Shotokan school, they wouldn't say, okay, hey, put on a brown belt until you can do your kata. They just don't do that. They just say, okay, well, train and remember them and get good at them again, and then you can think about maybe moving on. If you go through medical school, and you become a doctor, you get licensed and whatnot, even if you let your license lapse and and stop practicing medicine, you're still a doctor, right? You still have that knowledge, even if the skills aren't quite as sharp. And I think the same is true for any martial art. I think the same is true for most things that we earn. So if you're a 4-stripe blue belt, let's say, and you take 6 months off, 10 years off, whatever, and you come back and you're training, your timing is going to be off. Your dexterity is going to be off. All those things are not going to be to the level and the standard that you're used to having them at. And that it's good that you recognize, hey, I have a standard of skill that I want to reach, and I expect myself to be at, and I'm not there. And that you can have the internal ability to judge yourself and say, that's not okay, that sucks, and maybe you feel undeserving of the rank you're wearing due to that. My counter to that is that your rank is a lot more than just your ability to beat people, right? It's your knowledge as well as your skills. And the skills will come back, the timing will come back, and it comes back a lot faster than you think. So I'll give you an example of a guy who trained with me for a while. His name was Donovan. But when he first came to me, he was like, hey man, like 10 years ago I trained and I earned a blue belt. He had it. And he had like a legit lineage he was telling me about. He goes, but man, I don't feel like I deserve it anymore. I'll just wear a white belt. And I said, no, don't do that. Just wear your blue belt. Your blue belt is fine. And he's like, yeah, but I'm not going to be at the skill level. That's okay. Just wear your blue belt. And what happened was, within about 6 months of training, Donovan was back up to doing just fine. Like, sure, his first couple months were very challenging for him. It took him a while to get the technique. and more the timing than the technique. And of course, some things change just as metas change in any sport. There were certain things that people do that were new for him and so forth and so on. But as he caught on, his body started to remember these things. It's to some degree kind of like riding a bike. That's a muscle memory that you get, and you don't lose it as much as you think you would. Or lifting weights. When you lift weights, your body loses that strength a lot slower than you would expect. And so it doesn't take as long as you would think to get back up to where you were before you stopped lifting. And it's the same with Jiu Jitsu to some degree. Now, Donovan had been out for 10 years, and within 6 months, he was back to where he was before his break. And I would argue that for most of you, if you're willing to put work in when you go back to training after COVID or whatever, you're going to see that it's just a matter of a month, maybe 2 months, and you're going to be right back where you were. Now, you have to be willing to go through that difficult time. And I think that's the biggest challenge. And I feel like our ego wants to make that easier by saying, oh, well, if I put on a white belt or take stripes off or whatever, that'll make me seem like, oh, well, he's not as good as he's supposed to be because he's not at that rank anymore. That doesn't make sense to me. Certainly if you were getting ready for a purple belt and you then had to take 6 months off, you're not ready for that purple belt again probably when you come back. But it probably won't be that long till you are. Maybe another 6 months and you're back up to where, banging on the door of purple belt again. So I don't see any point in ever taking people's rank off of them. I don't like to do it. We have had members who did it without telling me, and then when later when I'm like, hey man, you move pretty well, how did you train before? They're like, yeah, I was this or I was that. It's like, you didn't have to do that. And then it's weird for them to try to put the other one back on or whatever. They feel uncomfortable about it. But overall, I feel like once you earn a rank, that is your rank, and it shows how long you've trained, your knowledge in the art, and to some degree your skill. The other part of that is, if your ability to win is the only criteria for your jiu-jitsu, I think that sets you up for failure in the long term. Because by the time you get to, I'm 41 now, and I can tell you, I didn't think it would matter, but it matters. I definitely feel a difference when I'm rolling a tough 20-year-old or 22 or 20 whatever year old, in the ability to keep up with their stamina and the ability to keep up with that kind of stuff, and I have to overcome it with other methods. But there's gonna come a time when that is way harder to do, right? It's gonna be much more difficult than just having better technique. It's gonna matter, because once that 20-something year old is a black belt who also has very good technique, now the attributes matter to a much greater degree. I can see the camera's bouncing around a lot. I'm going to move it here. I don't know if this will be any better or not. So anyway, I think what I'm saying is no, don't take anything off of your belt. Don't do that to yourself. It's not necessary. I'm not a big fan of that. So especially like Mike happens to be one of the members of my academy. Don't do that. Don't feel you need to do that. Just know that when you come back, you're going to need to work harder for a little while to get back to where you were. Because Mike's a pretty skilled guy. For guys who don't know who Mike is, he's a pretty skilled guy. Was definitely getting close to purple belt. Probably would be testing for purple belt right now in my next upcoming test. But, life happens. It got in the way. And some weird freaking freak of nature thing happened. And, that's just what we're dealing with. So, I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't take stripes off. I wouldn't take your belt off. When you come back, you have your blue belt, you have your stripes, you just train, and the timing will come back. All of that will happen. And then I want to point this out too. So this is more of a personal thing. So Mike, I hope that answers your question. I think a lot of people are, we're all living our own journey in this right now, but I feel like a lot of people, and and Mike, I apologize if it feels like this is aimed at you, but I think a lot of people should go visit their schools, especially if you're afraid to go back, and see what your schools are doing. And the reason is a lot of us have changed a lot of things that we do in the academy to make it safer and cleaner. And I mean, we were a very clean academy to begin with, but like, we have foot washing stations now and cleaning the mats between every single class now. And you know, our members have never been more cognizant than they are now about not coming to training with illness, both the kids and the adults. And we're, you know, very strict about it, to the fact that someone even asked me, they said, you know, are you taking temperatures at the door? And I said, no. And they asked why. And I said, well, you know, you could be asymptomatic, and so if you are, the temperature means nothing. And they said, yeah, but what if they come with a fever? And I said, then I don't want them to ever be there. You know, that's not the kind of person that we have at our academy. You know, we're in the middle of a pandemic. If someone comes with a fever, that person's just an asshole, right? Like, I don't want that kind of human being in my academy. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, set up times with your instructors and talk to them and go in and visit the places when there's no one there. Because, you know, at my academy, we have, you know, over 200 members who've been training, back to training since June. And we've had 0 issues with COVID, 0. And that's not me saying that COVID doesn't exist or that it's not dangerous. Don't take that the wrong way. What I'm saying is, people in community-based industries like ours, it's a little different than like an LA Fitness where it's a bunch of random people and there's no real community build up. In Jiu Jitsu, every school I've ever been to has a very distinct community, and I think you need to take that into account as well. Now, I understand that, you know, another member I was talking to, he was like, man, the only reason I can't come back is because my parents say they will not watch my kids if I come back. Like, I get it. Like, that's not even your decision, right? Like, he works, his wife works, they need someone to watch their kids. That's just the way it is. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying is give your schools a chance if you can, if that's an option for you. And just know that, I mean, I talk to a lot of martial arts school owners through a side gig I have, and a lot of them are having no problems whatsoever with COVID, because the communities that they've built just refuse to put others in their community in danger like that. So I hope that's helpful to you guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that nonsense we've got to do. I am trying to hit those 1,000 subscribers so I can do some live events for you. And, you know, coming soon, my video processing computer just came in. So I'm going to be able to more easily set up things so that we can do those videos we've been talking about the roles with both myself and the person I was rolling with. So I'm excited to get that going. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.